Dear students, welcome to Tungal online classes. The next topic we are discussing is limitations of Ohm's law. In previous class, we have seen that whenever any conductor is connected to external source of voltage, yes, the current flowing through this conductor is directly proportional to the potential difference across ends of the conductor, that we have written it as V is directly proportional to I, or V is equal to R into I. Okay, according to this law, if I plot the graph of the current versus the potential difference, we have to get the straight line here. Okay, but practically there are many cases in which Ohm's law does not hold good. Those limitations we shall discuss today. Yes, the first major limitation of the Ohm's law is that Ohm's law is applicable only at constant temperature. Okay, we will get the straight line graph only if the temperature is maintained constant, but at higher temperatures the Ohm's law does not hold good. Okay, we do not get the straight line, so it is applicable to the conductors only at a constant temperature. Okay, second limitation of Ohm's law is that if I consider the semiconductor diodes, all the devices which use semiconductor diodes, the Ohm's law is not valid there. Yes, actually what happens, if you consider a semiconductor diode during the forward bias, when the semiconductor diode is forward biased, the nature of graph is something different. Okay, similarly when the diode is reverse biased, the behavior of that diode, the VI characteristic of that diode is something different. As well as in both the cases we can observe here, we do not get a straight line graph here. Okay, this is a non-linear relation between voltage. So current is along positive y axis here. In forward bias we will have in milliammeters. Yes, so here I have voltage. Here in reverse bias you will have lesser value of current. Okay, in both forward as well as reverse bias we are not getting a straight path, that is non-linear graphs we are getting. As well as the nature of this graph in forward bias is different from nature of the same diode, the nature of the graph of same diode in reverse bias. Hence in semiconductor diodes and the devices which use semiconductor diodes, the nature of the graph depends on what type of biasing it is. In forward biasing it is something different, in reverse biasing it is something different. As well as in both the cases we are getting non-linear graphs. Okay, but according to Ohm's law we had to get the straight line. Yes, so in semiconductor diodes graph depends on the graph, or VI characteristic depends on type of biasing, that is connecting of the terminals of the diodes to the external source of voltage. And there are some materials like gallium arsenic, the devices which use gallium arsenic material, in that the graph is not unique. Okay, so if I plot the value of current along y axis and voltage along x axis, the nature of graph is something different like this, which cannot be explained by the Ohm's law. Here for the same two different values of the voltages we are getting a same value of current, as well as this is also non-linear graph and the variation is not explained by the Ohm's law. Okay, in devices such as gallium arsenic we are getting some unique type of graph which is not explained by the Ohm's law. Okay, these are some of important limitations of Ohm's law. Next we have the concept of color coding of resistors. Okay, first of all, the resistors are the electronic devices which are used to limit the flow of electric current in a given circuit. Okay, we cannot have any quantity of the electric current through the circuit, so to get the specified value of electric current through the given circuit we use resistors. Okay, and based on the resistivity of any material we have conductors, semiconductors and insulators. Okay, conductors have the minimum value of resistivity. The resistivity of the conductors ranges between 10 to the power minus 8 to 10 to the power of minus 6 ohm meter. Okay, different conductors have different values of resistivity. It ranges from 10 to the power of minus 8 ohm meter to 10 to the power of minus 6 ohm meter, whereas semiconductors have the resistivity of the range 10 to the power minus 5 to 10 to the power of 4 ohm meters. Okay, and the resistivity range of insulators, it is somewhere between 10 to the power 5 to 10 to the power of 16 ohm meter. The insulators have the maximum value of resistivity. Okay, and the commercially produced resistors, there are two types of resistors here. We have wire bound resistors. The wire bound resistors are made by winding the wires of constant and nichrome such alloys. Okay, why we are choosing those alloys? Because they have very low sensitivity to the change in temperature. Whenever there is change in the temperature, the resistance of these materials do not change much. Okay, these are used for lower range values of resistances, and higher value resistors, the resistors which have the higher value of resistance, they are usually made up of carbon material, right? So those we call it as carbon resistors. Okay, and the magnitude of the resistance of carbon resistors, that is denoted by using a color coding. So whenever we have a resistor like this, these are two terminals of the resistors. Usually it is made up of 4 bands like this. There are 4 color bands. This is first color band, this is second color band, this is third color band, and this is a fourth color band. Okay. In color coding of resistors, any carbon resistor will have 4 different color bands. Okay, out of these 4 different color bands, the first 2 color bands indicate the digits of the number. Okay, then the third color indicates the power of 10. Okay, the power multiplier, this number has to be multiplied by the multiplier. Then the fourth color indicates the tolerance or the maximum variation which is possible in the value of that resistance. Okay, first let us list the colors and corresponding the numbers associated with those colors, then we shall discuss how to calculate the resistance of the given resistor. Okay, the first color here we are considering that is black color. For black color, the number given is 0. Okay, and the multiplier, in place of multiplier I have to multiply it by 10 to the power of 0. Okay, if black color is in the third position, the multiplier will be equal to what? 10 to the power of 0. Similarly, next we have the color of brown. Brown color is given the number 1. If it is in place of multiplier, the multiplier value is equal to 10 to the power of 1. Okay, for tolerance we have separate colors that we shall list at the end. Next color is red, next color is orange, next color is yellow, next we have grey color, next we have blue color, then we have violet color, then we have grey color, at the end we have white color, right? And the numbers given to this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If these colors are in the place of multiplier, the multiplier values will be 10 to the power 2, 10 to the power 3, 10 to the power of 4, 10 to the power of 5, 10 raised to 6, 10 raised to 7, 10 to the power 8, 10 to the power of 9. Okay, then we have different colors for the tolerance. So those are gold, silver, and we may not have the fourth band at all. Okay, that we write it as no color. If there is no fourth band, that we consider it as no color. And these last three cases are for the tolerance. If the fourth band is of gold color, the tolerance we have to consider is plus or minus 5%. If it is silver color, we have to consider plus or minus of 10%. And if the fourth color band is absent, we have to consider the color band of plus or minus 20%. Okay, we shall take an example, then the concept will be clear. Okay, let us consider a carbon resistor is having 4 different color bands. If the first color band, let us take it is orange. Okay, the first color band is orange. Let us take the second color band. If the second color band is violet, let me take. If it is of violet color, then third color band, let us say it is of gray color, and fourth color band if it is of a silver color, then what is the value of resistance of this resistor? Yes, see here, the first color band is orange. Okay, what is the number corresponding to orange? That is 3. So my first digit will be equal to what? 3. Then what is the number corresponding to violet color? Violet color is having the number of 7. So I have to write 7 here. Second digit is 7. Okay, this is the number I have to consider. This number has to be multiplied by the multiplier. So multiplier is what? Third color is gray here. So the number corresponding to gray is what? 5. So I have to write 10 to the power of 5 in power of n. In place of n, I have to write the number corresponding to gray. Okay, so that is 5 in this case. Then the last color indicates the tolerance here. Then here I have to write plus or minus of 10%, because I have silver, I will write plus or minus of 10%, right. So the resistance of given resistor is 37 into 10 to the power of 5 plus or minus 10% ohm. Okay, if I have gold color here at the end, if the fourth band is gold, here I have to write 5%. If I do not have any fourth band, which there are only 3 bands, I have to write this tolerance as plus or minus of 20%. Okay, so this is how we have to consider the value of resistance for different colors bands. Okay, next concept we have, that is temperature dependency of resistivity. Okay, how resistivity as well as the resistance of any given material varies with the temperature. Yes, so for this we shall consider the equation. The conductivity of any material is given by what? Sigma is equal to n e square tau divided by m. Okay, n is the number of electrons per unit volume, E is the magnitude of charge of electron, tau is relaxation time, and m is mass of the electron. Okay, so this is the value, this is the equation for conductivity. Okay, hence if I write the resistivity, rho will be equal to what? M divided by n e square tau. Okay, so in this case rho is inversely proportional to the relaxation time. In case of metals, the relaxation time decreases with increase in the temperature. As temperature increases, the relaxation time decreases. As the relaxation time decreases, the resistivity increases. So if I plot the temperature along x-axis, and the resistivity along y-axis, and the number density in case of metals does not change, that remains same, hence rho directly depends on the value of relaxation time here, that is inversely proportional to relaxation time. In metals, as the temperature increases, the relaxation time decreases. As the relaxation time decreases, the resistivity increases. So the variation of resistivity with respect to temperature is something like this. Okay, at the value of 273 Kelvin, the resistivity we write it as rho naught. Rho naught is the resistivity of the metal at the temperature of 273 Kelvin. This is the graph of variation of the resistivity of metals with respect to temperature. Okay, in case of alloys, the graph is something like this, right. So we are plotting resistivity along y-axis, temperature is along x-axis. This is the variation of resistivity of the alloys with respect to temperature. Okay, and in metals, the equation for variation of the resistivity is given by the resistivity at any temperature T, that is equal to rho naught into 1 plus alpha into delta T, where rho T, it is the resistivity of any given temperature, and rho naught is a resistivity of the material at 273 Kelvin. Alpha is the temperature coefficient of the material, and delta T is change in the temperature, or we can write it as rho T is equal to rho naught into 1 plus alpha into T minus of T naught. Okay, so this is the equation for variation of resistivity with respect to temperature. Yes, and when we consider the semiconductors, for semiconductors I have the equation sigma is equal to what? N e square tau by m. Rho again we write it as m divided by n e square tau. in case of semiconductors, the charge density, the density of the charge carriers increases with temperature. Okay, as the temperature increases, the n value also increases, but the relaxation time decreases. But the effect of increase in the charge carriers is more than the effect of decrease in the relaxation time. Hence, as the temperature increases, the n value increases more than the decrease in the relaxation time. Hence, as the temperature increases, the effective denominator value increases, so the value of resistivity decreases. So if I plot the graph of resistivity versus temperature in Kelvin, it is for semiconductors. The graph is something like this. As the temperature increases, gradually the resistivity value decreases. If the temperature is approached 273 Kelvin or 0 Kelvin, at 0 Kelvin the resistivity is infinity. Okay, so at 0 Kelvin temperature, the semiconductors act as perfect insulators. Similarly, we can write the equation for temperature dependency of resistance. First, the relation between resistance and resistivity we have R is equal to what? R is equal to rho into L divided by A for given conductor. We can directly write R is directly proportional to rho. Okay, just now we have written the dependency of resistivity on temperature as rho T is equal to rho naught into 1 plus alpha into delta T. If from this equation we know the resistance is directly proportional to the resistivity. Okay, hence in place we can replace this rho T by R. We can write RT, the resistance of any material at any temperature T is equal to what? R naught into bracket 1 plus alpha into delta T. RT is the resistance of that material at any temperature T. R naught is the resistance of the material at 273 Kelvin or 0 degree Celsius. Delta T is a change in the temperature, and alpha is a temperature coefficient of the given material. So we can define this alpha also as, we can write this equation as RT is equal to R naught plus R naught into alpha delta T. I can write RT minus of R naught is equal to R naught alpha into delta T. So I can write it as alpha is equal to RT minus of R naught divided by R naught into delta T. It is a mathematical expression of temperature coefficient of resistance of any material, and it can be defined as the ratio of change in resistance, to the original resistance at 273 Kelvin and change in the temperature. To get the desired value of resistance, we can combine different resistors in different combinations. Okay, so basically we have two types of combinations of resistors, just as it is in the case of capacitors. We have series and parallel combination of resistors. Okay, so in here we shall derive the expression for effective resistance when the resistors are connected in series and when they are connected in parallel. Okay, first case we shall consider three resistors which are connected in series, and let them be connected across the external source voltage of V. Yes, let the first resistance value is R1, second resistance value is R2, and third one is having the value of R3. Okay, and the resistors are said to be connected in series when the right terminal of the first resistor is connected to the left terminal of second resistor. Okay, and so on. So in this case, when they are connected in series, the current flowing through all the resistors will be same, and the potential drop will be different depending on the value of resistors here. The potential drop across first resistor, let it be V1, the potential drop across second resistor, let it be V2, and the potential drop across the third resistors, let us call it as V3 here, so that the net sum of the potential drops, that is V1 plus V2 plus V3 is equal to what? Supply voltage of V. Okay, and when I separately consider the resistor R1, by using the Ohm's law, I can write the current flowing through all the resistors is I. So when I consider first resistor here, I can write V1 is equal to what? R1 into I. Similarly, for second and third resistors, I can write V2 is equal to R2 into I, and V3 is equal to what? R3 into I. Okay, and if I draw the equivalent circuit of this, the same circuit I can draw it like this. Yes, this is the supply voltage of V. Let us write the effective resistance of series combination as Rs here, and the current flowing through this combination is again I. Okay, and if I apply the Ohm's law for this effective circuit, I can write it as V is equal to, supply voltage is equal to what? V, and the potential drop across the combination will also be V here. I can write V is equal to Rs into I here. Okay, and let us use these equations in the first equation. I can write V1 plus V2 plus V3 is equal to V, that I can write it as R1 into I plus R2 into I plus of R3 into I is equal to what? V. V is nothing but what? Rs into I. Okay, let us take I outside here. I can write it as I inside bracket R1 plus R2 plus R3 is equal to I into Rs. I can cancel I from both LHS and RHS. I can simply write the effective resistance is equal to what? R1 plus of R2 plus of R3. The same equation can be extended for n number of resistors. Okay, here I have taken only 3 resistors. I can write it up to the nth resistor. This is the effective value of resistance when the resistors are connected in series. Okay, I'll just add the values of individual resistances. Then let us consider the parallel combination of the resistors. Let me take 3 resistors R1, yes, R2 and R3. Let them be connected in parallel combination across the supply voltage of V here. Okay, when the resistors are connected in parallel, the current flowing through the circuit that gets divided. The current flowing through R1 will be I1, the current flowing through R2 will be I2, and the current flowing through R3 will be equal to what? I3. Okay, so that the sum of all these currents will be equal to what? Input current. In this case, I can write the total current, the net current in the circuit will be equal to what? I1 plus of I2 plus of I3. Okay, if I write the equivalent circuit of this will be something like this. Yes, so this I will write it as Rp, which indicates the effective resistance of a parallel combination. Okay, so here the voltage is again V here, the current flowing through the circuit is capital I. This is the equivalent circuit of this. Yes, so when I consider the first resistance here, for considering the first resistor, and when we have the parallel combination of the resistor, the potential drop across each resistor, will be same as the supply voltage. Since all are connected in parallel with the supply voltage, whatever supply voltage is there, same potential will be available at potential difference will be available at each resistor. So for all the 3 resistors, the potential drop or voltage available is V again here. Yes, when I consider the first resistor, I can write the potential drop is equal to what? V. I can write I1 into R1 is equal to what? V. Similarly, for second and third resistor, I can write I2 into R2 is also equal to V. Then I have I3 into R3, that is also equal to what? V here. Okay, so this is when I consider individual resistors. Similarly, when I consider the equivalent resistance of the combination, here I can write it as V is equal to, or I can write Rp into I is equal to what? V. Okay, then we also have from this equation I can write I1 is equal to what? V divided by R1, I2 is equal to V divided by R2, and I3 is equal to V divided by R3. We have I is equal to I1 plus I2 plus I3 here. Yes, from this equation I can write I is equal to V divided by Rp. Okay, let this be equation number 1, let this be equation number 2 here. Okay, using equation number 1 and 2 and substituting these values in this equation, I can write V divided by Rp is equal to what? V by R1 plus of V by R2 plus of V divided by R3. Okay, if I cancel V here, I can write 1 by Rp is equal to what? 1 by R1 plus of 1 by R2 plus of 1 by R3. So this Rp indicates the effective resistance of a parallel combination of the resistors. The same thing can be extended for n number of resistors. Okay, this is the expression for effective resistance when resistors are connected in a parallel combination. As we know, a simple electrolytic cell, it consists of two electrodes. It consists of two electrodes which are immersed in an electrolyte. Yes, two electrodes, let us say electrode A and B, those will be immersed in an electrolyte. So on immersing these electrodes in this electrolyte, there will be accumulation of the positive charges from this electrolyte on the surface of A. Okay, if positive charges are accumulated on the surface of A, that electrode gets positively charged, and obviously the negative ions get accumulated on the surface of B, so that makes the electrode B negatively charged. Yes, when these two electrodes are positively and negatively charged, there will be potential difference developed between these two electrodes. Yes, if we measure the potential difference between these two electrodes, whatever potential difference is available, that potential difference between these two electrodes, when there is no current drawn from the cell, that we call it as a EMF or electromotive force of the cell. Okay, so for this what we shall do, let us consider a resistor. Let us consider an external resistor R of resistance R connected to the terminals of the cell or to the electrodes of the cell. Okay, when the key is open, the circuit is open, hence there is no flow of any current through the circuit. This forms a closed circuit: electrode A, resistor, key, electrode B and electrolyte. Okay, when we close the key here, when the key is closed, the circuit will be closed here, hence there is flow of current between through this circuit. Okay, current starts flowing through A to R, R to B, then from B to A through the electrode. In this condition the circuit will be closed. Okay, the same symbol can be written like this. This is external resistor of resistance R, this is the key here. Yes, then this cell can be shown like this. This is the electronic symbol for the cell. Okay, then this is the flow of electric current when the key is closed. When the key is open, the electric circuit is open, hence there is no any current flowing through the circuit. If we measure the current across this cell, if we measure the potential difference across this cell, whatever potential difference reading we get, that potential reading we call it as a EMF or electromotive force. Electromotive force of any cell is the potential difference available across terminals of the cell when the circuit is open, when there is no current drawn from the cell. That will be the maximum potential available across terminals of the cell. Okay, when the key is closed, current starts flowing through the circuit. Okay, the conventional current flows from electrode A to R, R to key to electrode B, then from B to A through the electrolyte. Okay, but this electrolyte offers some resistance for the flow of electric current through it. Okay, the resistance offered by the electrolyte of the cell is called internal resistance of the cell. Okay, that we call it as internal resistance of the cell. So that can be shown here. This I read it as a small r, that indicates the internal resistance of the cell. Okay, so when the circuit is closed, if we measure the potential difference across the terminals of the cell, that will be less than the EMF of the cell. Okay, because the EMF is potential difference when there was no current flowing through the circuit. But when there is current flowing through the circuit, there will be some potential drop because of internal resistance of the cell. Okay, that much potential drop will be reduced. Yes, so whatever potential drop available across terminals of the cell when the circuit is closed, when the current is drawn from the cell, is called the terminal potential of the cell, and obviously the terminal potential will be less than EMF of the cell. Yes, this is about the EMF, terminal potential and internal resistance of the cell. Yes, the expression for the total potential difference available can be written as capital E is equal to, it is the supply potential difference, that is equal to the potential drop across the resistance, that is capital I into R plus the potential drop within the cell because of the internal resistance, that is equal to what? I into R. Okay, from this I can write E is equal to I into capital R plus of R. From this I can write capital I, the current flowing through the circuit is equal to what? Capital E divided by R plus of small r. Okay, let this be equation number 1. And the potential difference available for the external resistance, so that will be equal to the terminal potential. Okay, whatever terminal potential is there, so the same potential difference will be available for the resistance. So from this resistance I can write it as the terminal potential available, the potential difference across the resistor is given by V is equal to capital I into R. Okay, let us substitute the equation number 1 in this. I can write it as terminal potential V is equal to capital E divided by R plus of R into capital R. This is the expression for the terminal potential. Next we shall derive the expression for the effective EMF and internal resistance of series combination of the cells. Okay, so just now we have discussed that whenever we consider a cell of EMF E and if it is having internal resistance of R, yes, whenever the key is closed, that is current is drawn from the cell, the potential difference available across the terminals of the cell will be equal to what? That is a terminal potential. Okay, that will be less than EMF of the cell. Okay, so that will be less than EMF of the cell by the magnitude of the potential drop because of this internal resistance. Okay, why do we get lesser value of potential difference? Because there is some potential drop within the cell because of the internal resistance of the cell. That potential drop is given by I into R because the current is flowing through the cell also, hence there will be potential difference because of the internal resistance. So this is the general expression for a potential difference available across any cell. Okay, now we shall consider two cells of EMF E1 and E2 and let R1 and R2 be their internal resistances. Okay, and let them be connected in a series combination. Yes, A and C are their terminals, B is a point in between those two cells, and the second figure indicates the equivalent circuit of a series combination of these two cells. Okay, let us consider the cell E1. The potential difference between terminals of the cell E1, let it be denoted as a VAB. Okay, that is the terminal potential available by the cell E1 is a VAB, and the terminal potential across the cell E2, let it be VBC. Okay, and just now we have discussed the expression for the terminal potential is given by VAB is equal to, general expression is equal to what? V is equal to EMF of the cell minus of the potential drop because of the internal resistance. Okay, in this case both the cells are connected in series, hence same current will be flowing through the both cells. Okay, so when I consider cell 1, I can write the potential difference available, that is terminal potential available by the cell E1 is given as VAB. I can write it as the EMF of cell is what? E1 minus of I into R1. Okay, this is the terminal potential available across cell E1. Similarly, the terminal potential available by the cell E2, so that can be written as VBC. VBC is equal to what? The EMF of second cell is what? That is E2 minus of I into R2. R2 is internal resistance of a second cell. Okay, and when I write the equivalent circuit, the effective potential, terminal potential of the combination of these two cells, let us write it as VAC. It is the terminal potential available between the terminals A and C. So that is the effective terminal potential, that I can write it as VAC is equal to, VAC will be equal to what? VAB plus of VBC. Yes, let this be equation number 1. And let ES is the effective EMF of series combination of these two cells, and small rs is effective resistance of series combination of these two cells. Okay. So, by using the second figure here, I can write the terminal potential available across the combination of the cells, that is VAC is equal to, again I use the basic equation here, that is the EMF available is what? ES minus of the current flowing is also again same here, minus of I into RS, where RS is effective internal resistance of a series combination. Okay, let this be equation number 2. Equation number 1 and 2, they indicate the same terminal potential, hence I can equate equation number 1 and 2 here. Okay. So, in equation number 1, let us substitute the values of VAB and VBC. I can write equation number 1 as, again I write it as VAC is equal to, what is VAB here? That is E1 minus of I into R1 plus of VBC is equal to what? VBC is equal to E2 minus of I into R2. So, this I can write it as VAC is equal to E1 plus E2 minus of I into R1 plus of R2. Let this be equation number 3. Yes. What I have done? I have just added the values of VAB and VBC by substituting the values of VAB and VBC. Okay. Let us equate equation number 2 and 3. I can write LHS is VS minus of ES minus of I into RS is equal to what? E1 plus E2 minus of I into R1 plus of R2. Okay. By comparing LHS and RHS, EMF component I will equate, hence I can write it as the effective EMF in series combination ES is equal to what? E1 plus of E2. Okay. And similarly, I can write the effective internal resistance is equal to what? R1 plus of R2. Yes. This is the expression for effective EMF and effective internal resistance for the series combination of two cells. Yes, the same thing is extended for n number of cells. I can write the effective EMF of series combination. I can write it as E1 plus E2 plus E3 up to En, where En is EMF of nth cell. Similarly, the effective internal resistance can also be written as R1 plus R2 up to Rn. Okay. This is the general expression for series combination of n number of cells. Yes, this is one of a regularly asked question for 5 marks. Yes.